Hello, Keng Sen, and welcome back. So good to have you again on Let's Think Aloud.
Lovely to be back.
Okay, so how has the festival been so far? And now that we are gearing up towards the finale.
I think that it's been a very good response from everybody. There's a general sense that the festival is exciting them and here to stay. Because the festival is new from last year. Because the festival is 37 years old, but it took a break. And last year was the first time we came back. And so now I think that very often people like to see what happens the second year, and they're warming up now very much to the festival. I'm happy to say.
Brilliant. Now you have this really big, extravagant piece called The Incredible Adventures of Border Crossers. Why it is big, I would have my listeners hear it from you. What was the idea behind The Incredible Adventures of Border Crossers?
I think that, migration is seen to be such a negative issue these days, but it's really, I would say that it is a 20th century explosion. Everybody is moving around in the world. And so I wanted to do a piece which looks at Singapore's future and the present. And Singapore is now 6 million people, of which 40% are foreigners living in Singapore. And I was very interested in how do they see Singapore? How do they see their past lives? And the fact that they're here for maybe just 6 years or 8 years, So I invited 22 non-Singaporeans living in Singapore, and they are all great professionals. The person who stayed the longest is a Frenchman who's been here 30 over years in Singapore, and the one who has stayed the shortest is still about 5-6 years. And I wanted to make it more open to everybody because we're all border crossing. Even when we go onto a website to go to Krakow in Poland and we're trying to check up what to do in Krakow, what to do in Poland, we are border crossing. So I wanted to make everybody identify and not just migrants or foreigners or people in that context, because I think every day we're border crossing.
Brilliant. How challenging was it to bring together 22 individuals from different nationalities, and what was your criteria behind selecting these individuals?
I think it was more about a desire that those individuals who had the desire to participate, I just chose them immediately. So I didn't choose by former experience. In fact, most of them are non-actors and no theatre background before. The challenge was also to bring together quite different individuals, right? We had people from top first world countries like Austria, interrelating with permanent residents of Singapore who are Burmese in origin, and I found that very heartwarming that these 22 individuals really, with their desires, they put it on the table, and that was they wanted to be a part of the show, and I just love their commitment, much more committed very often than professional actors.
Border Crosser project also performed in Paris in March, and now we are gearing up for September 17th, 18th and 19th. How was the Paris experience?
Paris experience was so great because so many of the 22 had not been to Singapore, to Paris before. It was just so beautiful to be in a city of love, a city of romance, and at the same time I was just so amazed that everybody was so committed. We were in a wonderful venue. It's a contemporary art museum called Palais de Tokyo. Although it sounds Japanese, it's completely French, and it was a very unfinished museum because it's constantly transforming.
So obviously the people in Singapore, most of us the audience hasn't seen the Paris performance, but how different would the Singapore experience be?
I think that the interesting thing about this show is that it's a durational performance of 6 hours. So we are trying to make sure that audiences stay for that long, and so there's special challenges in doing it in the tropics, because when we did it in Paris, it was winter, spring, and the temperatures are cool, but for a hot 6-hour performance, that's not desirable. So we are really looking at how to do that and to make the audience stay, because in the 6 hours you begin to see how someone who is on a fashion catwalk moves into karaoke, moves into telling a story from their lives, and just the amazing sense of how they go from Bhangra and Bollywood dance to Japanese folk dance to Chinese dance from YouTube. I really think that it's nice that the audience goes off for dinner and comes back and sees the next half hour, goes and have a drink and come back. And so we would like to create an environment where it's enticing for the audience to come and go and to come back an hour later and see how it's developed.
Brilliant. 6 hours. What do we promise Singapore?
We promise Singapore that you would see these wonderful non-actors really, performing themselves, performing their all. They give everything. They are so great. I love them, and I've never experienced something like this before. As a professional director who's directed for 25 years, I think that this was the first time in my life that you see that this interculturalism, this people coming together from many cultures, is not just an arty concept, but it's a concept of life, because everybody is in cities today where we're all living together. We come together and we don't share any memories, but we have to live together.
Can I just keep listening to you?
Forever. Yes.
You know, Keng Sen, you mentioned you've completed 25 years. What else do you personally think that you have still to achieve? I mean, you've achieved so much. You've done everything there is to do related to theatre. What else?
Well, you know, when I was invited to come back to Singapore to run the festival, I was in New York actually doing my PhD. And so I was just beginning to write. So I really want to go back to that, you know. And of course, I still feel like I want to be a happy person, you know, because I think that art and your career and professionalism is a great part of our lives, but it's not the only life that we can have.
So I'm going to have this very little quick pod segment with you, which is like a rapid fire, but it is a quick pod because this is a podcast where we try and get a little peek, a little glimpse into the real Keng Sen. So you can't take time, you have to answer really quickly. Ready?
Yeah, ready.
The most memorable moment you had with the border crossers in Paris or during rehearsals when you felt you did the right thing by putting this together?
I think that when it was everybody in their full costumes, it looked so beautiful, and all their makeup and everything was great.
Awesome. If not in theatre, Keng Sen would be?
I'm in a gallery usually. I love contemporary art.
The CIFA to you is?
CIFA to me is it's a dream come true to make that kind of festival in my home country.
Wow, the incredible adventures of border crossers will be, or to you is?
I think it's an amazing journey of 22 people singing together, dancing together, telling their stories, and they all look so beautiful. They're stunning individuals.
On a free day, we would catch Keng Sen doing what?
Eating.
Eating what?
Eating. I love good quality food. You know, in Singapore nowadays, it's so expensive that for me, I think good quality food is hard to come by. And so I just prefer to be in a restaurant, because street food today has changed so much for me. It's no longer as good as it was before.
The most exciting phase, year, project of your career would be?
I think that it would be when I'm able to balance my life with my friends together with my art, and not become too much involved in either side.
Finally, thinking aloud to you is?
Thinking aloud to me is talking to myself, rationalizing, finding a balance, finding an emotional entry point into bringing all that into my life. I think that there are many people who live unemotionally, and I don't want to be someone like that.
Wow, only a person in theatre could say it so aptly. Thank you so much, Keng Sen, for talking to us. Wonderful having you.
Thank you very much. Love you.